Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. We are going to work on this really cute little summer bucket hat. So I'm really excited to get you guys going. It's really easy to do. We're only using the half double crochet stitch, and it's really nice and light, which is perfect for summer. Now, if you are new here, my name is Karen, and I love all things to do with crochet and crafting with crochet. So I'm so glad you decided to join me today. Now, the size that I have here, I just put on the end of this little vase, is it's meant for a newborn to 3 months old. So let me just set it down so you can really see kind of the shape of it. So it's got much more of a flat top, which is what bucket hats are wont to do. And then it just naturally has a little flare, and we create a bit of a flounce at the end there. I purposely made this very loosey-goosey kind of thing. So if you have a summer baby that's on the way, and actually this is what why I made this particular size. There is a baby coming due this month. So it'll be quite large on them, but it's summertime, right? So we're more worried about making sure, keep the sun out of their eyes and things like that. And as you can see, it's pretty airy, okay, which is what we want. We don't want it to be too hot. And it's also something that, at least for the next few months, they can grow a little bit into it. Babies grow really, really quickly. So that is why I made this really nice and loose here. Now I'm going to be making another one for you here on the tutorial for my niece. She is just about 8 months old. So I'm going to make it just slightly bigger. You can also attach little chin straps to it if you want to tie it just under their chin. Sometimes they want to pull it down. So you can do that as an option. I have not done that for this one. So that is what we're going to work on today. Really cute and quick. This just took me, maybe an hour or two to whip up. So really nice and easy and just lovely. So I'm going to take you through the materials you're going to need to gather, and most especially this really pretty, lovely yarn. And then we're going to get stitching up our summer bucket hat. Okay, so let's start with the yarn. I picked this up for the very first time, and I have to say I love it. I would actually make an item for myself with this yarn. All the baby yarns are just so divine. It's called Baby Cuddles, and it's by Loops and Threads, and it is a lightweight number 3 yarn, so it's really very light. And it comes in a skein of 113 grams or 288 meters, or those of you that go by yards, 315 yards. The size that I had made there, the 0 to 3 months hat, I would say it took up maybe about half of this skein. So you can see I've got quite a bit still left over. So you can probably make a hat and booties to match, or you can make 2 hats together if you want to make 2 in different sizes. So you definitely won't need more than 1 skein of these. And in case you're wondering, this colorway is called Gumdrop. And the hook size I'm going to be using for this project is a 4.5 millimeter hook, which is also known as a G or a size 7. And I'm not sure if my camera will focus there, but I'll leave it for you, a graphic in the top there. So this yarn recommends a size 4 millimeter hook. I just went up a half a size just because I wanted it to sit nice and relaxed for the stitches. As always, make sure you have a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end. Now, you also want to make sure that you have a measuring tape and a sizing chart. And you can find this on my website at crochetcrafty.com. And it's the crochet hat sizing chart. This is a great tool for you, especially if you do not have the person, or in my case, the baby, in front of you to take the measurements. So the main thing that you're going to need to know is the hat diameter, or the head diameter. So I'm going to 6 to 12 months, and I'm going to go across here, and I want to find the crown size or the diameter, and this is what I want. So I've got it in inches and in centimeters. So I'm going to make a note that my diameter is going to be anywhere between 5 1/4 inches to 5 1/2. Now, if you're making this, anytime you make a hat, if you're looking to make it to kind of be snug around the head, always go slightly smaller, because your project will stretch a little bit. In the case of the bucket hat, I actually do want it to sit loosely on the head because, again, I don't want it to be hot. And so I am going to go probably for about 5.5. Now, the hat that I have currently there is newborn to 3 months, and they recommend 3.5 up to 5. And I actually went much closer to 5 to keep it nice and loose. So that's the one measurement you're going to make a note of. And then you're also going to make a note of the hat depth. Okay, and that's how deep you're going to make the hat. So again, I'm following my age range here. So the hat depth for me, hat height or hat depth, is going to be 6.25 to 6.5 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to take the one that I've made already here. And so I've got my hat. So you're going to start by creating the circle at the top, which is, so bucket hats tend to have more of a flat top, right? So that's the first part we're going to make. So that's our circle. And I purposely did it using back loops only to create this little ridge. So when I measure from my last ridge here, yeah, that's just under 5 inches. So when I go here to my 3, yep, so I was at the top end, 3.5 to 5 inches. And then when you have your depth, you're just going to fold your hat down. And this is how you're going to tell you're on the right track while you create your project. So 0 to 3 months, the depth was between 4.5 to 6 inches. So I'm just going to measure, and I've got just under 6 inches if you take away this little ridge here. But that's pretty good. I mean, this is definitely already going to be big on a newborn, so I think I'm pretty good there. So those are the two measurements you want to just make note of, write it down or highlight it, and then keep your measuring tape on hand so that you can measure your project as you go along. So now that you've got all your materials together, let's start stitching up our summer bucket hat. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start at the top, and we're going to start with a ring, and we are going to create the circular top to the bucket hat. So it's a bit of a very soft yarn, so that's why it sits like that. So we're going to create the circle. And by the way, this is acrylic yarn, but like I said, I'm doing a very kind of relaxed stitches, and it's a lightweight number 3. So you want to probably, for a summer hat, you want to stay away from anything more than, I mean, you could use a medium weight 4 if you're doing 100% cotton, but if you're using the handy crafter cotton, I find sometimes it gets a little heavy. So again, we're trying to keep it very light. So we're going to begin with a ring, or a cinch circle, I like to call it. So you just create a little ring there, and then you're going to pull up a loop. It's like a slip knot, but you're not going to resolve it. Okay, and then you're going to chain 1, and that is your cinch circle. And then I just like to pull that tail to the front. So we're going to chain 1 again. And these 2 chains, the first one was to secure your circle. The second one is just to give us a little bit of a height. We're not really going to count it as anything. We're now going to work 8 half double crochets into the center of our ring. So we're going to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and then half double crochet. And we're going to do that until we have 8 stitches in total. Okay, so I've got 8 half double crochets into my ring, and now I'm going to just take that tail and I'm going to pull on it, and that's going to cinch our center closed. See that? And now I'm going to find the top of the very first half double crochet, first official stitch we did right there. I'm going to insert my hook, and I'm going to slip stitch to join my round, just like that. So round 1 is complete, and I have 8 stitches in total. So we're now going to go on to round number 2. So for round number 2, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into that same stitch, and we're going to place 2 half double crochets. So the chain one won't really count as anything. So we have 1 and we have 2. And then we're going to place 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And we're going to do this into every single stitch all the way around. So we're basically placing an increase into every stitch. So round 1 had 8 stitches. Round number 2 will end up having 16 stitches. Okay, round 2 is complete. I've got 16 stitches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that very first half double crochet to close my round. So I've got 2 rounds now, and I've got 16 stitches. So from here on out, we're now going to work the back loops only of our stitches. So the loops are these, see that? Those are the 2 loops. This is the front loop, and this is the back loop. So from here on out, for the rest of our crown of our hat, we're going to be working the back loops only. So again, just to show you, that's what creates these little ridges on the top part of our hat, okay? And to create the circle, we are going to use the basic principles of crocheting a circle. So I'm going to take you through the first few rounds, but then I'm going to let you go to create the diameter you need. And if you're a little unfamiliar about the basic crochet circle, I will leave a link to that tutorial in the description box down below. It's a really important one to have in your back pocket because a lot of things use the circular shape. So that is what we're going to be using here. So in round number 3, you will begin again by chaining 1. And this time I'm going to go into the next stitch here, and I'm going to go in through the back loop. So I'm not going to go under the whole stitch. I'm going to go into the back loop. And I'm going to place a half double crochet, and then I'm going to go back into that same stitch and I'm going to place another one. So I'm going to start right away with an increase, but now into the next stitch I'm only going to place 1. So I have 1 half double crochet again going into the back loop only, so you can see that ridge is coming forward. And so this is what I'm going to repeat. Into the next stitch I'm going to place 2 half double crochet stitches. And then into the next one, I'm only going to place 1. So the repeat here is 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. At the end of round number 23, you will have increased by 8 stitches, and so you should have 24 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of round number 3. And remember we did that chain 1 at the beginning and then we went into the next stitch. Well, that chain 1 doesn't count as anything. So we are going to go into this stitch to place our very last stitch because I currently have 23 stitches. So this is my 24th. And now I'm going to go into the top of the very first stitch right there. I'm going to slip stitch to join, and round number 3 is complete. Look at that. So you can see that ridge is coming through quite nicely, and the color is changing really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to start you off on round number 4. So we've done 1, 2, we just finished round 3. Round number 4, we're going to chain 1 again, and this time we're going to go into the stitch, the same stitch we just slip stitch into. So I alternate. Some rounds I start in the next stitch, and then some rounds I start in the same stitch. And what that does is it helps to keep a nice smooth edge to our circle. So right back into that same stitch, I'm going to place 1 half double crochet stitch, and then into the next stitch I'm going to place 1 half double crochet stitch. Whoops, and you know what? I should have gone into the back loop only. So right into that same stitch, so I slip stitched here, so I'm actually going to go right into the back loop, which is right there. I hope you guys can see that. I feel like the camera is not focusing very well. So we're going into the back loop. So there's 1. And then into the next one, we're going to place 1 double crochet, half double crochet. Oh my goodness, they're half double crochets. So you've got 1 and 1, and now into the next one, we are going to place an increase. So what you should notice, so that means we're going to place 2 stitches in here, is that with every round, you will increase the number of stitches between your increase stitch, which has the 2 stitches in there. So in round number 3, we had 1 stitch in between an increase, 1 an increase, 1 an increase. Here we have 1, 2 stitches, and then an increase. So your repeat is going to be 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, all the way around. When we go on to round number 5, you're going to have 3 stitches in between your increase. So you'd go 1, 1, 1, increase, 1, 1, 1, increase, etc., etc. Again, I go into deeper detail in that how to crochet a circle tutorial. For those of you that are a little bit more experienced, this should be really easy peasy for you. And even if you're a beginner, it's a really easy concept to kind of grasp. So this is what I'm going to do for the rest of this round. And then I'm going to leave you here to create the size of the circle that you wish to do. And what I'll do too is just to make it a little easier, I'll leave a graphic here on the screen of how many stitches you should have at the end of every round. Now just keep in mind, depending on your gauge, if you're a tight crocheter, you may actually need maybe a round or 2 more than the one you see me do for your size. If you're a really loose crocheter, you might find it is the opposite. So that's why I like to explain that, because sometimes people will follow along with me and they think they're doing something wrong. And sometimes, a lot of the times, it has to do with different gauge. So like I said, if you're tighter or looser, it may vary. So don't panic. If you need a couple of extra rounds, that's a-okay. So I'm going to leave you here, finish the top of your bucket hat. And once you've done that, then we're going to be ready to create the depth of our hat. Okay, so I have reached my diameter. So I have reached my 5.5 diameter. So I went with 5.5. Again, I always like to go a little bit larger. So I actually ended up finishing 9 rounds for that. Now for the 0 to 3 months one, I only went as far as round 7 with my increases. Again, this is my gauge. If you crochet tighter or looser, it may be slightly different. That is why I always recommend for you to measure with the sizing chart and with a tape measure, okay? So I am now happy with the crown or the top part of my bucket hat. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to round number 10 for my size. And there will be no increases in this round, but we will still work into the back loops only for this last round. So we will stop working in the back loops, but we're going to do it for 1 more round. Okay, so we're going to begin by chaining 1 as usual, and then we're going to go into the very next stitch here into the back loops, and we're going to half double crochet. And for this round, we're simply just going to place 1 half double crochet into each stitch. And you're going to do that all the way around. And at the end of once I've completed my 9th round, I had 72 stitches, and therefore I will still have 72 stitches at the end of round number 10. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of round number 10. I just wanted to kind of go over something. After we chained 1, we went into the next stitch to begin. So we actually have 1 stitch left. It looks like this one's taken up here, but we're going to ignore that chain 1. Make sure to place your last stitch into what looks like the slip stitch there from the previous round. And if you're ever unsure, just go back and count your stitches. You should still have 72 stitches if you're following along with me, or whatever stitch count you had in the previous round. So now I'm just going to slip stitch to join, and round 10 is complete, and it is going to start to curl, which is what we want. So see, it's going to start shaping that kind of form of the hat. So what we're going to do for the next 3 rounds, which is the same method I followed for the smaller hat. So regardless of how big your diameter is, I would still recommend doing this, is we're gonna do 3 more rounds without decreases. The differences in these next 3 rounds is we're not gonna work into the back loops anymore. We're just gonna work directly into regular stitches. So again, I'm gonna chain 1 and I'm gonna go right back into the same stitch, into the full stitch there, and not going to work into the back loops. So we continue with 1 half double crochet into each stitch for the next 3 rounds. So we've already done round 10. This is round 11. So I'm going to do round 12 and 13. And then I'm going to meet up with you for round 14 where we will do an increase because we want to create a little bit of that flare. So that's why this bucket hat design is different than a typical beanie, let's say. So finish these next 3 rounds and I'll meet up with you again shortly. Okay, so I have completed 14 rounds. So the last 5 rounds have had no increases. So you can see that they are now creating a nice shape downwards. So now I want to just start creating a little bit of that flare that goes outwards, just to sit a little bit more relaxed as it comes down towards the ears. So this is round number 15. So right now I currently have 72 stitches. And so we're going to increase in round number 15. And what I like to do is I like to increase in 8 spots. So if you divide the hat in 4 and then you divide it again in another 4, that for me gives you a nice even increase in this round. So 72 stitches in my case for my size. So whatever your stitch count is, you would divide it by 8. So 72 divided by 8 is 9. So I am going to increase into every 9th stitch for round number 15. So I'm going to begin by chaining 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right back into that same stitch. And I'm going to place a half double crochet. And I am going to count 9 stitches. So that was the first. This is the second. Third, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and this is the 9th stitch here. And into that 9th stitch, I'm going to place an increase. So that means we're going to place 2 stitches. So we have 1 half double crochet, and then I'm going to go right back into the same stitch and place another half double crochet. So there is your increased stitch there. And so this is what I'm going to repeat all the way around for round 15. So I'll count 9 and so I'll count 8, and into the 9th I will increase 8, increase in the 9th, etc., all the way till you get to the end, and then you are going to slip stitch to join your round, and then I'll meet up with you and we'll talk about round number 16. Okay, so I have finished round number 15, and you can very slightly see it's flaring just a little bit. It's very, very subtle. And at the end of round 15, I have 80 stitches. So now for round 16, we are going to do no increases. So you will just chain 1, and then you'll go right back into that same stitch, and you will place your half double crochet and keep going. So now, round 16 has no increases. You don't need to see me do it, go all the way around. And then I'm going to repeat that alternating increase row for another 2 times. So, and I'll leave some text here up on the screen just to kind of take you through it. So round 16, no increases. So I'm just going to place 1 stitch into each stitch, and I should still have 80 stitches. For round 17, I will increase into every 10th stitch, which will give me 88 stitches. Round 18, there will be no increases, and I will remain at 88 stitches. So that's 1 half double crochet into each stitch. And then I'm going to repeat it once more. Round 19, I'm going to increase into every 11th stitch. This should give me 96 stitches at the end of round 19. And then round 20, no increases, just 1 stitch into every stitch. Once I get to round 20, I'm going to reevaluate my hat depth. Now, why I'm doing this at this point, because when I did the 0 to 3 months size, I only did that repeat of alternation 3 times. So I'm going to do it 3 times here and see where my hat depth is. And for my size, I need about 6 inches to 6 1/4. So right now I'm sitting at 4 inches, yeah? Now for a bucket hat, I don't mind if it's a little shorter because it's gonna have this little frill here. It's gonna sit a little bit back on the head, so I think it's still gonna be okay. So once I get to round 20 for me, I'm gonna reevaluate. And this is what I recommend you do, especially if you're making it for an adult, for example, like you know your hat depth, but try it on yourself and see how you feel about how far down your head it goes to and how it sits. And if you're happy with that, then we would just continue the finishing rounds to create our little flare here. So I'm gonna go ahead and work mine to round 20, and then I will check back in and let you guys know if I do more rounds or less rounds, and then we will continue on from there to finish the last few rows, and then our hat will be done. Okay, so I have completed round 20. You can see it just has this very subtle flare, and I'm pretty happy with the depth. So just to measure, so I'm gonna fold that right there, bring my measuring tape, and so I've got just under 6 inches. So I'm pretty happy with that. And so that is just about 14 centimeters. So all we're gonna do now is just do the finishing round or brim, creating a little brim. And that's gonna give us that little ruffle-like effect. Okay, so on this smaller one, you can see the brim has this little ruffle. So that's what we're gonna add to this one. So this is going to be round number 21 for me for my size. And these are the last 2 rounds we're gonna do. So we're going to chain 1 and then right back into that same stitch. I'm gonna half double crochet. And in this round, we are going to increase into every single stitch. So that means we're gonna go right back into that same stitch and we're gonna place a half double crochet. So there are 2 stitches into that stitch. So that chain 1 didn't count as anything. So I'm gonna do the same thing again in the next stitch. So we have 1 half double crochet and a second. And that is basically the repeat for this round. 2 stitches into every single stitch. And I'm just finishing off this round. So you can see it's got a bit of a ripple, and I'm just gonna slip stitch to the top of the very first stitch to join my round. And round number 21 is complete for me. So this is what it looks like when you increase into every single stitch. It starts to ripple, and that's exactly what we wanted. Now, if you want to, you can totally leave it like this, but I am gonna do one more round. So we're gonna go into round number 22. I'm gonna continue to increase just to give it a little bit more of a ripple. But in this round, instead of every stitch, I'm gonna do every second stitch. So I will chain 1 again. And this time I'm gonna go into the first stitch right over here. And I will start with an increase. So that's 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. And then in the next stitch, I'm only going to place 1, okay? So into the next stitch, I'm gonna do 2, 1 and 2, and into the next stitch, I'm only gonna do 1. So the repeat is now gonna be 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. And then you're gonna slip stitch to join and snip off your yarn, and your summer bucket hat will be complete. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up my last round here, and I'll show you the final result in just a bit. And by the way, I forgot to mention that at the end of round number 21, because we've increased into every single stitch, I now have 192 stitches because I was at 96 stitches when I finished round number 20. So at the end of round 21, I have 192 stitches, and now I'm going to increase into every second stitch. So that is going to give me a total stitch count of 288. So for those of you that are following along exactly with my size, that is the stitch count that I have. Okay, so just so you're aware of your stitch count. Okay, and I have finished my last round. Look at how beautiful that curl is there. I just love that. And so this is my bucket hat. So if I do this, you can see how it naturally flares out. See that? That's that bucket hat shape. So this is for my 6 to 12 month size. And then this is for my 0 to 3 month size. So you can see there's just a little bit of a difference there. And I still have quite a bit left. So if you're making this for a child, like you could actually make a hat and booties. You could probably get at least one pair of booties for sure out of what's left in this skein. And I do have a booty tutorial that I did last year. So I'll leave a link for that in the description box down below, as well as a baby sock tutorial. So you can either do, actually you might even be able to do a pair of booties and a pair of socks out of what's left over. So definitely you won't need the whole skein for this project. And by the way, if you are making your bucket hat for an adult, I would really recommend that you use cotton yarn. Again, you want it to be cool. It's supposed to be a summer hat. Something like a Bernat's Handicrafter cotton is always a fantastic pick for a summer hat for an adult. Actually, for anything from I would say a toddler and up, really. So for a baby, this is just perfect because it's really nice and light and very airy, and it's not too heavy. So there isn't a lot of weight on it on their head. So there you are. I hope you guys enjoyed working on this little project. It's super fun and fairly easy. I hope you found it pretty easy to do. And if you are newer to crochet, this was a great opportunity for you to practice crocheting in the round and understanding the basic principles of crocheting a circle and how you can use that to crochet your very own hat. So there you are. Now, if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them for me in the comment box down below as usual. And for those of you that prefer, you can always send me an email at info@crochetcrafty.com. And if you are new here and enjoy this tutorial, I invite you to press that subscribe button and come hang out with me every Wednesday morning when I upload a brand new tutorial. And make sure to press that notification bell, and that way you'll get notified every time a new tutorial goes live. And in general, if you really like this project and you want to see more like this, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. This lets me know I'm on the right track with the types of projects that you guys like to see. Now, as always, don't forget, come and visit me on the website, crochetcrafty.com. There's lots of bonus goodies there for you. There's sizing charts, as you know, and there's lots of free written patterns, and there's links to my Etsy shop with more patterns there. And don't forget to sign up for my monthly newsletter, where you'll get a chance to take a look at a lot more in-depth behind the scenes photos of a lot of the projects that we do throughout the month. And of course, don't forget, come say hi to me. I am on Instagram and Facebook at The Stitch Sessions. And please tag me in your projects. I always like to see what colorways you've chosen to crochet my designs, or maybe you've been inspired by one of our projects to create something a little bit different. So make sure to tag me at The Stitch Sessions. And as always, I'm so happy you guys came along and hang out with me this week. So I hope you are having an amazing June so far, and that you're having fun crocheting all the wonderful projects we've got going on. So have an amazing day, guys. Happy crocheting. As always, take wonderful care of yourselves, and I will see you in next week's session. Bye-bye.